Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for the third-party upgrade kit for Leo Prime. So here's a 360 view of this kit. It specifically comes with this red cape, the scabbard on his hip, the sword in his hand, and then these like little hip pieces so you can plug in the scabbard, and special effects hands. But I think this kit adds a lot to this figure. Okay, and here he is in a more neutral position, so you can just see how everything fits together pretty nicely. I did paint the gold parts on the lion mane. I spray painted them gold, and I think, I spray painted the eyes too. So just to make him pop a little bit more versus his standard yellowy kind of gold color. But you can see the gold on the sword is actually very nice. And this is all 3D printed. So you can see there are ridges in the sword for sure. And then when I received it, the sword was kind of in pieces. Like this green piece is part of this, I think. And then they just clamshelled this around it maybe, or they just pegged this on. But it's like painted 3D plastic, except for this is printed in this nice clear color, which I really enjoy. But this blade had broken off in shipping, and I just had to use a little bit of glue. It slotted back together very nicely, and it's held together pretty well. But we can go ahead and get the sword out of his hand. It's a little bit tight. And then the hilt piece is painted with a gold plastic. I think the default color of the hilt is actually a white. You can see a little bit of the paint scraped off there because it's kind of a tight fit in his palm, but the paint's holding it very nicely. I actually really like this gold paint. I wish I had that paint because the paint I use is more of a brown. So I definitely need to get a hold of a gold that's more yellowy like this. But really gorgeous looking sword. And you can see it has like a little head on the pommel. I guess this is Moon. I never watched Beast Wars Return, but I guess that character could turn into a sword. I guess. I don't know. But always a fan of laser swords. Really gorgeous detail. Awesome. Really awesome accessory for this guy. And then as for his little accessory hands, they do cheat. All they do is they're on these ball joints, and they just slide into the slot that his regular hand leaves behind. So you could just slide that in there. And then it replaces his regular hand, and his regular hand just slots out of the way, or you could pop that out off the hinge pretty easily. So this hand you cannot transform him with. You do have to just take the hands out. But the hands themselves look quite good. They also have some 3D printing paneling on it, but the paint really helps cover that up. And then I'll probably go back and paint these fingers gray because I happen to have that shade. But the ball joints, one thing that's nice about not having a hole, because they probably could have just let you replace this hinged part, but the nice part about these is it does let him have hand rotation, which the figure doesn't naturally have. So you can get some more expression from him. So that's how the hands work. And then he has a couple of these other hands. So he's got another pair, or he's got another set of like pointing, grasping fingers, and then his other two fingers are just fists. And the weird thing is these aren't open fists, so he can't even hold the sword with these. They're just closed punching fists. I guess I could just pop this out right away. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so here's his original fist. Here's the 3D printed fist. So it is smaller because he doesn't have a giant hole in the middle where he has to hold stuff. And then you can just slide that one in. And there you go. This is what he looks like with just a closed fist. And then, again, the nice benefit is that this can rotate around, give him different poses. But otherwise, these fists are not that great. I definitely prefer the open hand fist. And he does feel a little bit like a model kit. I would guess that these fingers would be pretty easy to break. But he did fall over several times and they never broke, so that's nice. But anyway, that leads to the last few accessories. So he's got this flowing cape, which is very nice, and it's filled with a wire, so you can get like posable expressions out of it. So that's very nice. It definitely looks cool. And then the way that it clips in is it's got this whole assembly here under the hindquarters of the lion. So it's got like this slot here. And then I'm actually not sure what this peg hole is for. I guess for storage. I haven't actually turned him into lion mode since I got this upgrade kit, so I'll try that out. But I guess this just pegs here on this tab. And then, yeah, that's that. And it's got like these twist tie wires going through it. But yeah, this feels actually pretty good. Very nicely made. And it's got like two tones, like a felt kind of outside, and then just the regular cloth on the inside. Okay, so that leaves like this hip assembly, or these hip skirts, and his scabbard, which really gorgeous looking scabbard that matches the gold on his toenails and the white of the plastic very well. Like another fantastic accessory for this guy. And then you can see the hip skirts peg onto the back of his hips here, so you can still get his waist articulation. So very thoughtful. And then these little panels do hinge out of the way, so you can still get all the posing. And then because they have the hole in them, you can put the scabbard on either side. I'm going to gently remove this. So this just pegs in with a ball joint, and you can see some of the paint is starting to wear off this because the plastic is cast in a white color. And then when I got this piece slid right off. But again, these things are just frictioned into place. So I just put a little drop of glue, and now it's in there nicely. And then of course you can take the sword. And I didn't point out that the sword has a very pointy tip, which could easily injure yourself with. And you just slide the sword in there, and it barely even holds in there. So actually, I'm surprised it didn't fall out, but it looks great, even holstered. I love this slot that just reveals the green blade. It looks so cool, like well worth it. I guess, yeah, I don't know if you can really, yeah, I guess the ball joint is 5mm. So if you wanted, you could just have him hold the scabbard. He can do that too. So that's pretty cool. So that's another nice thoughtful touch. And because of that ball joint, you could put it on the other hip if you wanted to, but you can get some pretty cool poses of him like putting his hand. His elbows don't bend that much, so it's a little hard for him to reach. But you can have him kind of like resting his hand on the tip of the pommel. You could try to get him to reach across and draw his sword. He's just got so much junk on his arms, it's a little bit difficult. So you got to really reach over there and get him to grab this blade. And then he can unsheath it, but he's got to like twist his entire body to get over there. Well, I guess he's got a... Does he have a butterfly? No. But you can get kind of a convincing look of his open hand, like grasping onto the pommel or the hilt. So that's pretty cool. And I guess the other thing I should point out while we got this guy out is I did give his head a little makeover. He's got gold foil for the eyes, as I showed in another video. And I did paint over all his red parts. I did put a little polish on it to give it a more gloss look, so that his red plastic wasn't just matte looking. But yeah, I think that goes over pretty much all his accessories. I'll just go ahead and unpeg these hip skirts too. And the fit and finish on this is pretty nice. I was impressed. I thought everything was going to be kind of loose and not very good, but everything is like perfectly within tolerance. You can see, I don't think there's any, it looks like there is like a metal pin that holds these little skirts together, so that's nice. Okay, and I got them in lion mode here. And then one thing I do want to point out, if you're intending to take this guy apart to paint him like I did, You do have to rip the face of the lion off, and that's what holds these two halves together. So it was very hard for me to figure that out, and I ended up doing some damage to the figure. But that's how you need to start if you want to separate this guy. That's why this seam is all messed up when I pried it apart. But anyway, and you can see like this gold doesn't match at all. I definitely want something that's closer to this color. But yeah, now that I've transformed him, there's really no place for this skirt to peg on, unfortunately. It just doesn't go anywhere. I thought maybe this slot on the back of the head or somewhere, but there's really nowhere it can go. So unfortunately, no weapon storage. It would be cool if this had like a secondary set of slots or something, and it could tab on to the lion hips at the bottom or something, so that the lion could also hold all this junk. But yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to work. And then, yeah, I still don't know what this tab is used for, or this hole right here. I guess you could peg this here. I don't know why you would do this. It seems like it might be for storage. I don't know. There's no instructions that came with this thing, so I don't know. But anyway, okay, I realize I mistransformed this guy. I always forget about that joint. But yeah, that still doesn't reveal anything where any of these parts can peg in, unfortunately. So here's the whole kit. So this is what you get: the cape, the hip skirts, the scabbard, the sword, and then the 4 alternate hands. So altogether, this is the hard part: is the kit costs $38 after shipping, which is a lot. That's as much as this entire figure cost. That's a lot. I wouldn't expect anybody to pay that. It's a little bit too much for what you get. This kit would be like perfect, maybe like at $30, but $38 is just too expensive. I really enjoy it. I think it was worth it because I really like how Leo Prime looks with all his gear. But it would have been nice if they made a way for all this stuff to just be on get carried by his lion mode. But yeah, I'll put in the link in the description. I got this one on eBay, but you can also find this on AliExpress. And it took about 2 to 3 weeks for me to receive it, and I think it's well worth it. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one.